Faith Forged in Fire, where we dive headfirst into the unique challenges and triumphs that comes with being a firefighter, all while exploring what it means to live out a biblical worldview. Join us as we find hope, perseverance, and faith in the midst of the heat and chaos. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome back to the Faith Forged in Fire podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed our last episode last week, or at least hopefully it challenged you and made you think. So we're going to lighten things up a little bit this week and have a little bit of fun. It's kind of what we try to do, right? If we have a little serious one, then the next week we try to at least give you a little. We can't be too serious. We're firefighters, and so we're going to have a little bit of fun, but maybe, I guess, get you thinking. What are you doing, Steve?
Sorry. I've been coughing like crazy over here. Thank you.
He's making me a dealer.
Cough drop.
Man.
A cough drop.
So,
thank you, Roach.
So what we're going to talk about today, unwritten rules.
Wow. Well, I thought we derailed the first episode.
Yeah,
or last week.
Yeah.
Bring him out.
Bring him on out.
All right. So unwritten rules, every rookie firefighter should know. And even if you're, so the question is, we've talked about this maybe too, because this is kind of the question I have, especially in the volunteer world. What even is a rookie, right? Because sometimes it takes a while in the volunteer side of things for somebody to catch enough action.
I think there's your first rule. Show up.
Yeah.
Respond.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. So let's not get derailed here. They're distracted. I'm just making sure everything's working here. So my first one, to be fair, I found an article that had like 20 of these, and I picked the ones I wanted to talk about. So
I just want to see if it messed you up as it messed me up.
So anyway, unwritten rules. First one: never disrespect the job by not caring. So I thought we'll just talk about these things. It's an honor to be a firefighter, and when I see firefighters who don't care, that bothers me. So embrace the training, embrace learning, embrace showing up. What do you think, Chief? I see it on his face.
I think that's a good cough drop. I'm seeing that a lot more of the not embracing it. Mm-hmm. Because us old guys like you and I, it was kind of a calling, if you want to call it that. And I think a lot of people anymore are just looking for something to do.
Okay.
So it's just a job.
Yeah.
And I don't.
You can't do it if it's just a job.
Well, I don't think they just have. Some people just don't have the drive.
Mm-hmm.
It's tones went off. I'll go. It's my job. Or other people take it to heart that.
Right.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, for me, it's a matter of I take pride in that. It's something that I recognize the danger in it. I recognize the dedication and the time and the training. I recognize that not everybody even can do this. And so for me, there's a pride and there's an understanding, especially as a Christian, that this is part of God's calling on my life. God has put this in my life, and this is a thing that I have a great passion for. That's a good perspective, I think. Anybody else thoughts on not disrespecting the job by not caring?
Well, I think there's something to be said about the level of trust the community puts in you. Mm-hmm. And I think if you can't care enough about the job, you probably shouldn't be entrusted with, people's vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
So not really their vulnerabilities, but them in a vulnerable state. If you're not gonna take the job serious, then you shouldn't be there. That's not the job. That is not the job to not take serious.
Yeah.
Anything in the public safety sector or the medical field, not the place.
And for me, I think there's even when I think about that, there's another side of that is a level of professionalism. Mm-hmm. I might be a paid-on-call firefighter, but I've said this many times. We cover a highway that runs through a couple of bigger cities. And if somebody gets in an accident down in those larger cities, they're going to get quick and excellent care because they're well-trained departments.
Right.
When they get in an accident up here, they don't care that it's no different, right? We still need to provide quick and excellent care to them.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason that volunteers have kind of that reputation of, well, you're not real firefighters, because we don't care enough. We say we care. We want the T-shirt, but we don't care enough to train.
The T-shirt participants.
Yeah, and we don't care enough to train and get better and stay excellent.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think even, especially for now, I don't know how many new people you have, like within the last, let's say even last year. We're not exactly in the greatest economy we've ever seen, so I don't know if it's just I could use the extra bucks, right? It's not going to be.
You got to show in our world. You got to show up to get extra.
You got to show up, but I mean that doesn't detract from them just not taking it serious. They're just showing up for the paycheck, not for the calling, not for the level of and I mean. I don't mean this to sound silly, but like the level of prestige that goes with that job, right? Because there's a level of respect that goes, kids grow up, their heroes are firefighters and police officers. So,
mostly firefighters.
Mostly, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's people that probably do it just for the paycheck.
Well, and we've talked about that and from the sworn departments versus the volunteer departments, and how in the sworn departments you find a lot of that. The paycheck, the benefits, the pension, whatever, the girls, stuff like that, because you're wearing the shirt, But it's funny when you guys were talking about the maturity level and of people. I know that there was a time in Arizona there were certain departments, paid departments, they wouldn't take you till you were a certain age, and I think some of that was the maturity level. We don't want immature,
probably a good idea,
young kids out of high school that don't have a maturity level to do a job like this.
Right.
Now, obviously, in the volunteer world, it's harder to do that because it's not like you have people breaking down your door all the time trying to end the job. But in some of those departments that don't have those problems, it's like, well, we're gonna iron some of this out, and
and I'm sure there are still a lot of paid on call or volunteer. What are they called now? Are they paid on call?
It's either one. There are some.
Yeah. I know they're different, but
I refer to what I do as volunteer only because most of the world doesn't understand what a paid on call is. In our world, when I say paid on call, people know, okay, you're a volunteer, but you actually get paid when you go on a call.
It's more. It would make more sense. Pay per call, right? You're getting paid per call rather than. Right. You're not being paid to be on call. You're being paid to
It's just paid. Call, so. It's called paid on call. But then.
My point, though, was that I think it goes both ways. You've got, I think, people who have that calling to be a firefighter, and that's the easiest route for them to get there is to, take responsibility for the community they live in and step up and answer that, call to civic duty, which you should.
Right.
In one way or the other, even if it doesn't mean being a firefighter. Take responsibility for the community you live in. Or you get the people that don't care; they're just doing it as either something to do, as extra money, and that's where it's tough. And it's it's tough to.
And in those paid departments,
those
I'm finding that in the paid department that I'm a chaplain on, and it bothers me, and I have to remind myself, for some people this is literally just a job.
Yeah,
and so I struggle with that because there's less volunteer or paid on call guys that are doing it. Because the paycheck, even when I say I'm paid on call, my paycheck is nothing, and I get paid once a year. You're still not doing it for the money.
But really. I have a question about that, and I ask because my uncle is still a full-time firefighter at that department, and I grew up going there and doing ride-alongs constantly. I was there all the time, and those guys loved it. I mean, it was a brotherhood. I mean, it was
most of them are that way.
So that's my question is, do you think that's a generational thing? Or is it the younger guys that see it as a job? Or is it mixed between all of the
so
ages?
this is interesting, and we're going to get derailed, but this is something I've learned here too. Because a couple of thoughts. I see guys that it's just a job, and that bothers me because I'm like, no, it's a job for you, but
sure.
This is a calling. Like, for me to get up every morning and come to that job would be like, there'd be some days I don't want to get up. But what I see is it's interesting because there's some young people who have gotten in right after high school even.
Right.
So here's the thing, and we've had this. I even had this conversation with Chief. You can tell the people who worked at it. They were paid on call for a while. They worked their way in, and they knew how hard it was to get the job because, like this last hiring process, they hired. What was it? It might have been 20, and they out of several hundred or even close to 1,000 applicants. Like, so this is what we're talking about: a department that's not easy to get into.
Yeah,
but yet I talked to some people who they got. You start hearing their story, and they put in an application because they thought it'd be kind of cool, and they were right out of high school, and lo and behold, they get hired. Right? You talk to some people, and they've been through 3 or 4 or 5 hiring processes just to get in. So they don't have a concept of how good they have it and what this is, and that there's a side of that too. But anyway, we got to keep moving.
This would actually be a great topic let's note this.
Yeah, we need
because there's a lot we could talk about this, about the brotherhood in the fire service and about the seriousness. Let's put that down.
Jake's going to do that right now.
Put it down to the top.
Because I don't want to get.
Give me a phone call. We're going to be here. Create an email for you.
We're going to be here forever, and I don't want to do that. So number 2, first was never disrespect the job by not caring. Number 2, lead by example. Even a rookie, and when I say rookie, I mean even just the newer people on the fire department can lead by example. Do your job well every time. It's going to rub off on others, whether you're young or you're older. And eventually, even as a rookie, right, you're going to have some older, more seasoned people who, if you're doing it right and you're not like throwing it in their face, and you're just leading by example quietly, it's going to make some of them go, ooh, yeah, I've kind of been a little lax lately. I need to step up.
Sure.
Yeah, and don't talk like a hot shot and be all not an example of your mouth, but lead by example of your actions. No, in all seriousness, arrogance. I'm saying
arrogance won't get you very
young kid coming in there being a real tough guy.
Yeah, if you're a rookie, shut up.
Yeah.
Don't talk.
That's
just
why
be quiet
it's
and learn
by example.
Yeah,
right, by what you do. Yep. But I get tired of hearing. I don't like this feeling of. You have to have a different colored helmet. You have to have extra bugles or even a bugle before you can be a leader. You shouldn't have those if you've not been a leader.
If you know anything in the fire service, you can be a leader. Because what's the one thing that
wait, a leader or an officer?
Yes. A leader.
Oh, no, there's a huge difference.
A leader. But what do you not like in the fire service? We just talked about it the other day. You don't like wildland fires.
Yeah.
And I love them.
Right.
So even if I'm not the chief,
right,
and you're a new guy,
I'm following. I'm not a new guy, and we show up on. I'm following you,
and I can teach you some things.
Right.
Just like if Jake was great at, I don't even remember if you were good at anything, but let's say he was good at extrication.
Cough drops or what are those?
Right. Everybody likes different things and they excel in different things. Yeah. Right. Because for me to go sit through a wildland class, if I don't have to, I'm probably not gonna because it's gonna bore me. But I'll go sit through an extrication class any day as long as it's something that's, I don't want it. It's a basic one, but I'm always looking for that because I love that stuff. But maybe you don't, and so I'll learn, and I'll follow you one day, and the next day maybe I'm teaching you something. Who knows? But that's
You're not going to be
tech
my
rescue, by the way.
You're not going to be my study buddy for my next class. That's 40 hours long.
No. So, and the other side of that is in the volunteer or paid on call world, where departments don't get to train as much just because of cost and time. Mm-hmm. The rookies coming out of the academy are often the most, they're the sharpest. They might not have the experience to put behind it, but I think about, I remember years ago when I went through the academy and we got on a scene and there was a bunch of guys trying to tie a knot, and I walked up and whipped out a knot, and they were all like, whoa. But I was in the academy, and what were we doing in the academy? Right. We were carrying a rope around, tying knots every time we sat down. Now, I couldn't do that. But the point being, you can even lead, and you can,
because they get the most up-to-date training,
right?
I think. Because after you've been out of the academy for a couple of years, you're back to learning the way we do it on the street.
Right. Well, and it's fresh on their mind, too. Right?
Yeah.
But that, that's why it's important to continue training and continue, sharpening that sword. And
well, that's the key, is continuing. And I think that's probably one of the big differences in a career department is they generally have more of the budget and they train while they're on the job. Where in a volunteer paid on call situation, you're trying to get guys to train that have been working 40, 50 hours a week. Now you're asking extra time of them. And yes, we have to train because we're firefighters.
Right.
But you at times you train kind of the minimal.
Well, and I think
extra.
those, full-time departments have an easier time. Well, maybe not an easier time, but maybe better resources for training.
Absolutely.
They've got their daily training and everything. Right. But I remember another, not your department, another full-time department down your way, where I was invited to do some tech rescue. So we rappelled off a water tower, and that was cool. But they were like, yeah, we just been waiting for the public works department to let us come do this. And it was like, it was already that built-in relationship.
Right.
They were just waiting for everything to get done so they could go do it. It's not that way on these paid on call departments. It's really reaching out, building a network, and then relying on each other and helping each other out to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Right. Because a lot of the resources are not there.
Right.
Yep. All right. Moving on so we don't get bogged down. Number 3. Learn your equipment. I think that's a pet peeve of mine. Learn your equipment and where it is on the truck.
There you go. Where it is.
Location. Yes.
There is nothing worse than sending a rookie to the engine to get a left-handed Halligan bar, and the guy comes back with a right-handed Halligan bar.
Oh, what a jerk.
That's a joke for anybody that doesn't know. That's a total joke. That's cute.
Steve.
It is?
Coming from the non-firefighter in the group.
That's why he doesn't do sales anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Rich tried to buy a left-handed, and he sold him a right-handed. Then he asked him for the hose stretcher, and he's like, I don't have one of those. Well, then what good are you, Steve?
Oh, man.
Yeah, learn.
They did that to me, or my early days, too. People did that. Like, oh, get the left-handed wrench or something. I'm like, huh? Left-handed wrench? What are you talking about?
Learn how you're,
right next to the right-handed wrench.
all of it though. Your mask, your all of it. Learn where it is. Learn how it works. Be ready. Be prepared.
Oh yeah. When you went through academy, did they still do the timed gear donning?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I still, and I don't know if they still do it or not, but I think there's still value in that because it's muscle memory. Right? The more you do it,
I don't know.
The better you get at it.
They're doing now. I was just down at the academy at where I am on the full time, and
I've heard they
very
stopped,
much.
but I didn't know. If that
I've heard that too, that they don't do that. But that was the thing for me is I don't have to do it in that time now,
right?
But the muscle memory that it put me through, it sticks. Yeah. You don't even think about it. Here's an interesting thing. Another squirrel.
Yeah.
That I was thinking about as I'm watching my paid on or I'm watching the academy for the career department where I chaplain. They're doing this constantly, and I thought, they're doing this, and they may never do this again, or if they do, it'll be very rarely. And then I thought, no, they do it constantly. We as rural volunteers, I don't know how your department is, Chief. But we never, I almost never put a pack on standing up outside the truck.
Oh, right.
I'm packing up on the way to the fire,
right? Because
we have several minutes,
right?
They don't, and I've thought about it. I thought, why do an FDNY or something? Why do they get off the truck and now they're putting their packs on? Why, or they're masking up and they're doing because they didn't have time.
Right,
because they're so close generally,
right.
Right. So anyway, another squirrel.
Real quick,
but that was
though. So my graduating class for Fire Academy, we had a class competition of who could put their gear on the quickest. I did not take first, but I was pretty quick. But when I would go back to your full time department to ride along, they would have me do that with them. And it was slow as molasses compared to how quick they could get their stuff on. And I thought it was quick, and then seeing them, I'm like, oh,
and they get every single person gets tested on it every year. Yeah. That's why they have to keep up with it.
Yep.
In fact, I heard one of the captains tell everybody that the other day when I was down there. You will always be doing this because every year you will be tested on this. Yeah. It was interesting though to watch because the class is split about half and half, and there's maybe a little more than half that has zero fire experience whatsoever, and then the other half that comes from fire experience. And there's one guy in that class that I kind of know. He's been a firefighter in our county. He's been on full-time departments around. Younger guy, but that's, one of those guys that grew up, knew he wanted to be a firefighter. As soon as he was old enough, he went to the academy. So he's been doing this a little while. And you watch, you can pick out the people who have not been they don't have that background because they're only like 3 weeks in or 4 weeks, whatever it is. And here he's all ready to go, and he's standing there watching them keep kind of fumbling around because it's muscle memory for him by now. And I don't, for our listeners that are not familiar with, like, don't understand, that's packing up is, I don't even think about it. I remember in the academy, like, you almost had to think like this, then this. You don't even think about it. You're just do it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. If you have any questions, ask. That's another thing that bothers me. If you don't know, ask. If you don't know where that thing is on the truck or what that thing is, ask. I would much rather you ask me, and I might get frustrated in the moment, and I might say, well, go ask so-and-so who's not, maybe they're standing around and they can answer it because I'm hanging halfway in a car we're cutting apart, or I'm in a fire or whatever, and I can't tell you right now, but I would much rather that than you leave and I'm like, where in the world did they go? And they come back and they're like, I don't even know what I'm looking for.
Oh, yeah.
But when you ask that question, be conscious of the atmosphere.
Yes.
Because if it's at a training and you say, hey, Rich, where's the left-handed Halligan bar? And I have a chance to take the time to go show you where it's at.
Right.
That's the time to ask the question.
Yes.
Right.
But when the ventilation guy said, hey, I need you to go get a left-handed Halligan bar, and you don't know where they're at, and you're going to ask somebody that's also
busy,
you may get a very short answer.
Right.
And it may not be please and thank you.
Right.
And
it don't take,
gentle. Here's
another unwritten rule. Don't take that stuff personally.
No. Right. No, we always say it's the heat of the battle. And yeah, sometimes language changes in the heat of the battle. You don't have the time to go over and explain different things to them.
I've went back to young guys and said, hey, in a sense, apologized for yelling at them. Said, look, it wasn't personal. It was heat of the moment. Like
we had that.
I have a sense of urgency
when we'd come back and do debriefing. It was like I think we would all kind of say like, hey. We good? We're all, we all.
But I don't take
where
it
coming from.
If I'm on a scene and he yells at me, I'm not like, oh no, Rich is mad at me. He might be a little frustrated with me in the moment, but he might not even know I'm doing the best. That like I am actually moving because we all know it doesn't matter how fast somebody's moving when you ask them to do something, it's not fast enough.
Right.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I might present to you that I'm frustrated. But I'll go back to a call. We ran a medical call today. You may not understand that I just got past command because I just got there, because I got out of work late back in the day, and then I just got told that we have a gas leak that's on fire. We still have live electricity. We got 2 people that went to the hospital. Oh, and by the way, the bomb squad's on the way. That was one of my first big calls when I took over as chief. Now, if you come up and ask me something, I'm probably going to be frustrated because I just assumed command, and now I have these things that just got dumped on me within a minute's time.
Right.
I have to.
And now you're asking me where the Halligan bar is,
and I have to file it, and I have to remember it, and I have to do all of these things, and then you come up and ask me.
Yep.
On the other hand, not a rookie thing, but if you are one of the leaders or even just a good firefighter during those training times, during the appropriate time, don't push them away.
Right, because
be the one that they can turn to.
That's the time.
Yep.
That's the time where I watch and I see a leader.
Exactly. Well, it's the time and the place, especially during trainings or pre or post meetings even.
And if you
that's the time to ask those questions. But
and
on the other hand, be that guy that
with a harsh answer, they're going to quit asking because it's not worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, moving on. This was an interesting one that I hadn't thought about, but I think I tried to do this, and I'm trying to do this now in my current situation. don't be in a hurry to gain acceptance. Your actions will be closely scrutinized. They must speak for themselves. Pulling a pre-connect correctly is more important to your crew than the fact that you are the chief of your old department.
I feel like there's a story behind that.
No, this is what was in the article. So this was
wow.
But
I know.
Wow.
I think you know who I'm thinking of as soon as he said that.
I'm not looking for school buses anymore. I'm looking for airplanes.
But we understand, right, that guy that comes in and wants to keep talking about how, well, here's how we did it on our old department. Well, you're not on your old department.
Boy. Man, remember the conversation before
I plead the
couple
fifth.
weeks ago when we were sitting here before we hit record, thankfully. There's those guys out there. They're my favorite.
If you liked it so much, why'd you leave? But I think that idea of not being in a hurry, we do need to work to earn acceptance. We need to make that important. But don't be in a hurry. Just let over time, your actions will speak and you will become accepted.
I think that goes back to shut up and learn something.
Yes.
Learn it, and then as you do it, you're going to be proving yourself.
Well, don't disrespect the job by not caring. Lead by example. Learn your equipment. If you have questions, ask. Those all lead to.
Oh, that all leads to that.
Leads to you then gaining acceptance.
I have not seen your list, so I apologize if I hit one that's next or whatever. But what that all goes with as well is don't be so anxious to jump into an officer position.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, again, this comes with experience, and I'm sorry. And this is also on current leadership. Look for a good leader. Don't just, so-and-so, they've been here for 4 years, and, so-and-so's only been here for one, but, the guy that's been here for 1 year has good leadership skills. There's soft skills that cannot be taught very easily.
But I went through 25 classes on leadership.
Exactly. Exactly.
Don't I? Come on.
Doesn't look like they're working, does it?
No.
Yeah. Take a 26th. No, that's the thing is I have a hard time with people like that. That's the thing is they look at it like, but on paper, I'm a great leader. Mm-hmm. Cool. On the fire scene, it's a different story.
Yeah. All right, moving along. And I think you mentioned this one, Jake. Somebody mentioned this. Show up, but more importantly, show up, but be involved, especially in trainings. Don't stand in the corner. We see that a lot, and that's another frustrating thing. People are in there trying to actually be involved, and you got this new kid or newer person. They need to be in here getting their hands on because, especially in our world as paid on call, unfortunately, on a call, you're probably not going to be the guy that's going to get your hands dirty right away. And you might not even be able to get in there to watch the way that you'd like to.
Yeah.
Because it's just the reality. With the way our world works is volunteer paid on call. If it's a bad scene, the most experienced people are the ones that are going to get their hands dirty kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's going to come a day, and it could literally be tomorrow, that now you are one of the more experienced people on scene, because in our world, maybe nobody else shows up. In fact, we asked that in one of our trainings here in the town that I'm in, and said, "Hey, what would you guys?" One of our captains asked all the new people, "What if you were the only ones to show up?" And they're all fire 1 and 2, and we had a structure fire. What would you do? And it was like, So got to be involved. Don't stand it, because training is the time that you're going to get your hands dirty.
But that's also time for your leadership skills. Because back in the day, if Jake was the rookie and I saw him standing back, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, he's probably got questions and he doesn't want to ask, he doesn't want to interrupt. That's a good time if you're wanting to be a leader, and trust me, your officers are watching. I guarantee you I am. That is the time to come over and go like, "Hey, Jake, you got some questions on what's going on?
Right.
Do you understand? Here, let me talk you through this. Let me explain to you why we're doing what we're doing. And if you got any questions, man, bump them off my shoulder and let's work through this." And
the other side of that, when you said be a leader, that I thought about was when it's a matter of, okay, say we're going to do pump practice, and we're going to here's what we're going to do. Maybe it's we're going to pull the truck up. We're going to act like this house is on fire. We're going to pull a line, and we're going to take everybody and we're going to rotate them through pump operator and EO. Okay, let's just say, and then often what happens, at least in a volunteer world, it's who wants to go first. Be the guy that goes, I'll go first, right? Like just get in there. And so I messed it up. That's okay. That's how we learn, right? But just be in there and be.
Training is the best time to screw up.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. That's when we learn.
Well, and to that point, and to your earlier point of, he's asking these, firefighters 1 and 2, like, well, all right, it's only you guys. Now what? Don't just go through the motions when you're at training. Don't just be there to be there. Don't just get through it. And you don't like to, mess up in front of people and all of that. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Do it as best as you can.
Well, we've all been there. You want to do the bare minimum because you're afraid you're going to mess up and mess up.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We don't need to spend a lot of time on number 7 because we've really talked about that, but never stop learning.
Yep.
Keep learning. Number 8, final one. And I thought this was a great one. Have fun. This is an incredibly, ridiculously cool job, and I forget that a lot.
Yeah.
I think I've said on this podcast, I've said it to other people, I love it when little kids wave when we're riding in the big red truck. It's that little thing that reminds me when I see a kid getting all excited, like, oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah, I was out freezing my tail off fighting a fire, and then I spent another 45 minutes picking up hundreds of foot of frozen hose and I'm worn out, and I don't why am I doing this? and then you see that and you're like, oh yeah, I am riding in a fire truck. I am this is cool. We get to do some cool things. And
so that should lead to number 9. There's always somebody watching.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Here's one that I was told. I remember this one I've never forgotten. And Rich, you might have been the one that told me this.
Oh,
I doubt it, if it's something smart.
I think you might have been the one that told me this. And it sounds bad, but it's true. And I literally try to live by it to this day.
I see you coming.
And I don't do it all the time, but they said if you have nothing to do on a fire scene, like at that time I was chaplain, I wasn't trained to do a lot of things. If you have nothing to do on the fire scene, move around with purpose and look busy because people are watching.
I think that was Rich. I think he told me that too, actually.
But it sound really I familiar. Do that. Yeah. If there's a bunch of people around watching and it's a situation where people have to help, and I'm like, but they don't understand that we have all the hands that we can possibly get, and I'm just standing. I don't just stand. I'll move with purpose.
Oh, yeah. There's never a better time to check the pump pressure on the truck.
Exactly. Anything. So it looks like I'm doing something. Yeah. And I know that sounds dumb, but...
Take an exhaust sample.
I've seen it over and over again because how many times you see on social media a picture of, oh, look at these people are dying and the firefighters are just around.
I was just going to say, the media out there. Make sure you look busy.
We've talked about that a long time. Many episodes ago, we've talked about that.
Oh, man.
Well, it is time to land the plane again.
What type of plane is it this week?
What airline?
What airline is it?
We'll see. Let's see how we land this thing.
Oh man, looking at you, Spirit Airlines.
I got a story about them.
Let's go this way.
Mic's off.
Our airline is fueled by Red Flannel Coffee, so we will be just fine.
We'll be fine. Yeah, go to redflannelcoffeego.com. Use PJ30 if you want to do a one-time purchase. Get 30% off. Otherwise, you can subscribe and save. Set it and forget it. Have it delivered to your door every month, however many bags you want.
And a huge thank you to Red Flannel Coffee and their support, not only of their support of getting AEDs in schools, but as well as the podcast. As we've said many times, we don't take any money from, we don't pocket money. But you're looking at
these chairs are nice.
Yeah, but the chairs are nice. They have helped us with the podcast, and so we're appreciative of that. So your money goes to that as well. So
don't break it.
Thanks, and if you have any show topics, please let us know. ffifpodcast@gmail.com.
Man, you do it better than I do it.
Good job, Steve. Proud of you. As a reward,
Another one.
You get a cough drop.
I got another one.
All right, we're out. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Take care.